Get fucking out of here. Hello friends, my name is Emily, I'm the bi, and here is a book, sadly, that is off of my bookshelf. Welcome back to the Backlist Book Club. I'm here with Patches, my co-host.
Hello.
And today we're talking about Karen Slaughter's Pretty Girls. That's a thing we read.
Yeah. One thing that's fascinating though is last book, Ninth House, we were texting like most of the time because it was us and then my friend Michaela and we were like keeping each other updated, like she was warning us of all the trigger warnings.
Ooh, we didn't get that. This has a lot of trigger warnings in it.
Like all across the board trigger warnings.
Yes. We're also going to talk major spoilers, so if you haven't read the book and want to, that's fine. You shouldn't, but that's fine. Just so you know, spoilers abound.
This book has got typically me written all over it.
Fair.
Typically.
Yes.
It's a 2-star book for me.
Yeah.
2 stars.
This is like a 2.5, 3 for me.
I did not like this book. Like, I mean, there's some parts that I liked about it, but there's other parts that I didn't like about it. I have a whole page of notes here because I had to like try to explain myself.
Yeah.
Because I was telling you, so many people love this book.
A lot of people do. A lot of people also don't like it.
I didn't. And I was like, what am I missing that a lot of like the popular YouTube booktubers are seeing? It's not, I don't even know where to begin. One thing that I did find was fascinating. I was listening to a podcast the other day because all I do is listen to true crime podcasts. That's pretty much all I do. Documentaries, my whole life is true crime. And I was listening to a podcast talking about somebody in a similar situation to this, actually, who was making snuff films and the title of his, files were literally like when the person went missing in like a code. It's so weird.
Okay, also though, here's my thing about that entire thing, which like is fine, whatever. However, one of my biggest issues with this book is that so many times when the characters are figuring stuff out, they're just making wild logical leaps that the author knows, therefore that's why they're making them. Nothing contextually in the story would ever make me go, oh yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. No, it just wasn't adding up for me in a lot of aspects. I had issues with how they portrayed people of color. I had issues,
or not at all.
Not at all. And I had issues with how it was repetitive. If I heard or if I read one more time something about red pill, blue pill, I was gonna fucking scream.
Hated it.
Also, there was just repetitive with how Claire was handling the situation with Lydia. She just kept saying, I'm not gonna let you down. I'm not gonna let my sister down this time. And I'm like, oh my god, we know you've been a shit sister.
Yeah.
We get it. It was repetitive. A lot of parts didn't make sense. I have discovered that I really, really don't like books or anything where a person is like held captive and someone is like over them screaming stuff about how they're so, they're like a mastermind and like, this is what I did, haha, joke's on you, and this person's getting sprayed with piss. Like, I was like, oh my god, this is ridiculous.
It was also weird, like that sequence is also weird because A, it's ridiculous, but also like, it was kind of confusing until she just outwardly says what's happening. And I'm like, girl, that's not good writing.
No, I didn't. I really just didn't like her writing. I really didn't like how she would explain things. I literally put in my notes though, this says this book feels like pasta. Even when I eat/read a lot, I'm not making a dent.
Fair.
Because that also has to do with the size book that we got.
Yeah, and the font, and we said that, I even said this in the last backlist,
so
I was like, it's about the same length as Ninth House, but the font is so much smaller.
Yeah. It's really tiny.
And I think that this book moves, which is like the one plus side to it. Even though it does feel like you're not making a dent in it, it does move. Like I think when I finally started actually reading it, it took me like 2 or 3 days max. Like it wasn't that long. And that's quick for me. But otherwise, like nothing that was happening. It's weird because it's like terrible things. Like her husband is making snuff films. His father before him was making snuff films. All these men in her life have been watching them. Her sister, who was kidnapped when she was younger, was one of them. Dark.
Rough.
However, the way that she writes it isn't that necessarily surprising or compelling.
Yeah, it just...
And Claire isn't like reacting the way that makes sense at all.
Yeah, I wasn't rooting. I love Lydia. I thought Lydia was great.
I think Lydia was the stronger of the two sisters,
She was about to piss on his grave.
Yeah.
That was hilarious.
Iconic.
I did not like Claire. I was not rooting for her at all, which is shitty. Also, I've discovered along with like that idea of someone being held captive and someone like yelling at him, like saying like, haha, I was behind, like, Scooby-Doo sounding stuff where like, I was behind it the whole time.
Right.
Also,
Oh,
I really
this man.
hate fake deaths. In books, I hate fake deaths.
It usually does not work for me, and the explanation usually isn't that good. And like them being like, oh, he had squibs on him and he wanted to look in your eyes while you thought that he was dying. I was like, dumb, stupid.
No,
I also called that was gonna happen. Once the unveiling of like him started happening, I was like, so he's not dead. He's somewhere.
Yeah. No, I just...
And that's what happened.
I was actually really looking forward to him being dead and then Adam coming to find Claire and being after her, especially after he left that really like nasty note on her.
So many characters are just kind of doing random shit that's never explained. Like, he's doing like kind of threatening weird shit, but only as a red herring, which like in retrospect doesn't make it work.
Nope. Like, I just did not want to continue it. And another thing with me being obsessed with true crime stuff, I'm just one of those people. I love, watching the documentaries and listening about it. It's not that this book disturbed me. It's really not that this stuff bothered me. I hear this stuff all the time. Like, I am the girl who sits on her couch, all comfy, and is like watching like Ted Bundy killing people, and I'm like, oh my god, that's crazy.
Like wow,
reading stuff.
wild.
Wow, wild. So this didn't bother me. However, this is the first book that I have read, and this is rare. I can't stress how rare this is. It gave me nightmares. I actually had a nightmare about this book.
Oh, weird.
Which is rare.
About what? Like,
I was held captive somewhere and I had to call the police, and I woke up when the sirens like showed up. It was
weird.
horrifying.
I don't like that.
So that's why I gave it another star. I was gonna be 1 star because I really hated this book.
But you're like, no,
but I was like,
got to
you
me
know
a
what? It
little
got
bit.
to me, so I give it that. It's 2 stars.
Do you know what got to me more? So in the middle so in the midst of me reading this book, my boyfriend was still gone, so he wasn't staying the night. So in the midst of this, he would come over and hang out. His mom had hip surgery, so like he was hanging out with her at night. And so like he came over, we watched 2 things happened. One, he asked me about this like cult thing, and I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. And then he made me watch a breakdown of this like crazy ass cult, and then he just left and was like, okay, bye. And I was like, have fun. No.
Sleep on this one.
Like, thank you. And then we also watched, I don't know if you've seen this film, Under the Silver Lake, which is an A24 film. It has Andrew Garfield in it.
Amazing. Okay.
It's done by the guy who did It Follows.
Love it.
Which I haven't seen, but I know I would like. And I think I would like.
It Follows?
No, I know.
Oh my god. Oh my god, drama.
I know. But it's from that guy. It's a movie about like Andrew Garfield's character is like, he's spiraling, but it's almost like what if all the conspiracy theories are true kind of thing. And it's set in like Silver Lake in LA. And there's this sequence in the movie where there's this character called the Owl Woman who you see 3 times in the film.
Owl? Like who?
Yes.
Okay.
And you see her first they do like this thing, they only do it twice, which I think is weird. That movie is good, but also weird.
I have feelings.
I have feelings. But they do this thing where one of the guys, like he gets embroiled in the conspiracy theory stuff because he sees this zine at the last bookstore actually. Where he like reads it. It's called, I think, Under the Silver Lake. That's the whole thing. And they animate 2 of the stories from the zine. And it's like really cool. Like it looks very cool. And one of them is the story of the Owl Woman who is completely naked except for an owl head.
Love that. Okay.
Or it's a mask, but it's like a full like head.
Okay.
And she comes into your room at night, locked or unlocked, doesn't matter, and seduces and kills men or women, doesn't matter.
Okay.
And you get eaten and you're dead.
So she's our bi underlord.
Yeah, our bi underlord, hello. So, freaks me out, obviously.
Yes.
Whatever. So you actually see her twice in the movie.
Okay.
The first time you see her is in videotapes where the guy who wrote the zine has died, and he goes, like Andrew Garfield goes, and he like is watching the secret tapes, and like he sees her, and then she looks at the camera, and then she goes in, and he's dead.
I feel like I would love this.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the second time you see her, and she moves kind of like a ballerina, so she's very pointy.
Okay.
And like
I don't like that.
almost stop motiony. Like it's very like
frame rate is a little low.
a little, but like not quite too low, and she's very elegant, and you're like, okay. Completely naked, and you're like, okay, great. Great. And so there's a point where Andrew Garfield's character is like, he's like sleeping, he has a gun for some reason, whatever, and he hears like something break in his living room, and he goes out into the living room. There's like this weird shaped hole in his like sliding glass door. It's not like somebody broke through it, but it's like, maybe a bird did. I don't know. And he's like, this is weird. Okay. And he's got the gun in his hand. And behind him, you see just like a random cabinet open, and she like leg sticks out, and she like comes out. She grabs a knife and is like slowly coming up behind him. And then he turns around, she sees the gun and goes, wah! And then runs away, and you never see her again.
She screams.
She makes like this bird noise. This like scared bird noise, and then she runs into his bedroom, the door slams closed, and then you never hear from her again. And you know what? That freaked me out more than this book did. Having still thinking about it. It's terrifying and it's hilarious. Don't understand it. Anyway, I was like doing all of that in the midst of this book, and I was like, you know, this is not.
I want our bio underlord. I don't want this whatever this is. Like
this man. Okay, let's talk about Paul.
If any person you're with, husband, wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, multiple boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever
you're
thinks
doing,
it's sexy to drag your ass in an alley to have sex with you, run away.
Hard don't like.
Hard no. Like, that is a hard, off the bat, he was like, over here. And I was like, no.
Also,
no.
Here's another reason why I don't find Claire sympathetic, or why I just don't vibe with her, is the fact that she didn't believe that her husband almost raped her sister.
Oh my god. Yeah, that was a problem.
Get fucking out of here.
Yeah, get
fucking out of here.
I mean, I have a sister. Dude, I would believe her over any person.
Infinitely. Immediately.
Yeah, I mean, even if we had like a rocky relationship. Also, okay, I had a question. Was Claire aware that Paul was spying on Lydia? Was that a thing?
No. She doesn't become aware of that until she finds all the files.
Also, why did Lydia watch the tape with her sister? Julia?
Why?
Why would you watch that? It's going to haunt her for the rest of her life.
Yeah, that's something I don't get either, is I understand like wanting to know, but like you don't have to watch the last tape where she dies. You can assume based on quantifiable data that like, okay, this ends and she's dead. Like, this is years ago. She must be dead.
Also, this is really nitpicky. We both went to film school.
Mm-hmm. We did.
We did. Here we are, living our best life in Los Angeles. You cannot remove somebody's freckles in Final Cut Pro. Can I just complain about that for a second?
Yeah, there's like other shit. You have to be doing there's other programs happening.
You can't. Like, I get it. That's just a nitpicky thing. No one else probably picked up on it. I love Final Cut Pro. It was like, it opened up a file entitled FCX, and I was like, oh my god, are we going, or FCX P10, like, oh my god, no! This is gonna go so wrong. I don't know why I think I was already not liking the book, and by the time I got to that part, I was like,
I love when you already hate something and then it does something dumb and you're like, well, that's stupid and I hate it forever.
Speaking of dumb, while Lydia is being held captive, and Claire is with her mom, like, rejoin, and then her mom knew that Julia was dead.
I hate that. I absolutely hate that.
She knows that Lydia is being held captive by Paul, yet her mom and Claire and her mom go have a meal and are just like sitting and rekindling, and I'm like, your sister is in a dungeon, bitch.
She doesn't tell her mom. Like,
well, what can I do? It's just like she knows. That's like her mom knew that Paul was already like holding Lydia captive.
It's also like, you know, like your mom knows that your younger sister was killed, and like whether or not she agrees with the dad that it was like this family, that Paul had something to do with it, whatever, like, what the fuck are you guys doing?
And we also talked about this, so we went to go get food. We literally didn't discuss this at all until today, which was cool.
Yeah,
and we tried to like refrain. But issues with how they portrayed race.
Oh, bad. Not good.
First person of color is the one...
The only person of color, I believe.
Burglarizing the house. Oh, the FBI guy, I think he was black.
Is he?
what's his name? Ned or something like that. I actually really liked, even though he was like
He was
crossing
kind of
lines.
an interesting character.
He was crossing lines with some of his questions. I was like, no one would ask.
All the
this.
cops fucking sucked though.
I can barely read my own writing. I was like so furious. Look, why is he alive in really big lettering?
Also, like, the amount of pages that were dedicated to talking about this fucking Tesla.
Yeah.
What?
No, mm-mm.
What are we doing?
What's his name? Damn it. Not your place, cop, is what I said. Oh, Nolan. I think that says Nolan. Dude, what is that? What is that? Is that English?
That's no one.
I think that's English.
Yeah, that's his name. That's that guy.
I
liked
actually
him.
really liked him. I think he's black though. I don't remember.
He might be.
Not apparent enough. Thank you for that.
He might be. Who knows?
But yeah, I didn't like it, and it's really unfortunate. I was really wanting to like it. I was really wanting this to be like the new thing for me, but it wasn't. And I'm having a really hard time explaining. I feel like if you really like something, solid 3s are so easy to explain because you're like, did I love it? Nah. Did I hate it? No. Did it change my life? No. It's like, those are so easy to explain. If I love something or if I hate something, it's
hard.
like I have to try to like
It's harder.
validate that, and it's
Yeah.
like I don't know how to describe just not liking this book. It just didn't sit well with me. Not because of the trigger warnings, not because of, the disgusting dialogue or like the disgusting acts in here. It's not that. That didn't bother me. It just was not for me. It just wasn't for me. I didn't like the way it was going. I didn't like how she wrote I just didn't care. Like, if the characters were a little bit more likable, not even that. Like, even narrators that are not likable, it's like, that's fine.
Yeah.
But in a case like this where you want to be rooting for them, it's
Well, it's like Alex in Ninth House isn't likable.
no, she's kind of a shitty person. But
Like, I like her.
you kind of vibed with her because you felt for her. You kind of learned a little bit more of her backstory, and you were kind of like, oh my god, I'm starting to feel a little bit more sympathy for her.
Yeah.
These girls were just shitty people. Shitty rich people, especially Claire. Like, she was just this privileged girl.
Sucked.
Honestly, though, if at the beginning, though, when I was reading about Claire, could you imagine, though, this would have been a great book because I love domestic thrillers. Like, I love stuff with, multiple wives and drama and affairs and stuff like that. I love reading about that. Murder, if that's thrown in there, extra star. But when it comes to like somebody being married to somebody, they die, and then they find that their husband was involved in all these horrible hobbies. That's fascinating.
Yeah.
I loved that setup, but it just went off the rails for me. It did not work.
Yeah.
That's it.
I also
2 stars.
I take issue
Let's talk about this.
with the like weird connection, like this like weird thing that Paul and like his dad had about the sister that then leads to like him having this thing about Lydia and him having this thing, like, despite the fact that they're talking about literally raping and murdering a girl and filming it, the fact that he's just like, he did it without me, it's like, what a fucking brat. But also
my
like
God.
disgusting, obviously, but like, wow, what a fucking brat.
Yeah.
Which like makes sense for his entire character. Like, that's who he is. He's a huge fucking brat. He just wants control. It's like all it is. I'm neither here nor there, I suppose, but I think I'm leaning towards like not here about the letters that the dad is writing to the sister. Having like a dead character talk to another dead character, but nobody's like reading them. Like, it's not
That is the
motivated.
one part that I actually didn't hate. But it's also stuff that I also don't like. I've read this a couple times with books where it's almost repetitive, where stuff is
Yeah.
happening in the past that we already know is happening in the future, and then
Yeah.
we're waiting for characters to catch up.
I think that's my issue with it. Is
Yeah.
that like, it's also like, yeah, he's like giving all this exposition, so like we as characters already know, so then when the other characters discover this info or are given this information,
Right.
it's like, well shit, we already knew that, like, and then they aren't reacting really to that information because
No.
the author already knew it, we already knew it, so who cares?
Yeah, I had the
doesn't
issue
work that well.
here with that, but I like the dad because it was such a
I like the dad
vulnerable-
character.
It was such vulnerable writing.
He's
it
like
was
not there at
so-
all, but yeah.
Right, but it was so heartbreaking to just like be talking about how like your sister's marrying someone and I don't really like him. It's like, no shit. But like the dad was onto him, which was kind of weird, and that dad intuition, I guess, where the dad was like, no.
Yeah,
That's
whatever.
a whole other topic.
Fine.
But
Fine, whatever.
I didn't hate that because I really liked hearing it, I guess, from the source, if that makes sense. Like, I really liked...
That it's the letters and not coming necessarily from somebody else.
I had the same issue, though. This is kind of spoilery for some other books, but Sadie, same issue. I gave that 4 stars, though. I love Sadie, but there was also parts where I was like, she said this, and it's like, yeah, we heard her say that 20 pages ago.
Yeah.
Or you
fair.
haven't read Sundown Motel yet. But like where you're reading like books where it's like a couple different perspectives, and one person is probably searching for the other person, and it's just like there's stuff happening here, and this person's trying to catch up, and it's like, oh my god, this is repetitive.
Yeah.
But here, I actually really liked some of the dad's letters because it was like, it was coming from such a touching place. It was like the one character I gave a shit about because you felt for him, right? And you were like...
And even like his, like when you learn that like Paul basically killed him and that he like...
in a horrible way.
Yeah, and like was showing him the daughter's videos and like then killed him is just so dark.
It's dark, but it's just also like...
But it's like the one thing that I was like, yeah, that's fucked. Like, I mean, everything is fucked.
Yeah.
But like, it's the one thing that I was like, shit.
I also really like that.
Dark.
I really like, because I've just read Turn of the Key by Ruth Ware, and I really love letters like that. Letters to somebody, I guess, recalling events and talking about, you know, yeah, I really like that. So that part I did enjoy. Us finding some, what is the word?
Also, I hate that they're like, the locket is so important, and I'm like,
no. But I was gonna say, I'm glad we finally understood what the hell that meant, because I was like, okay. But also, this is the ocean.
Yeah, this isn't the well.
It's not a well.
This is an open body of water, but go off.
I just didn't like it.
I also don't like the ending part. Like, I don't like the wrap-up conclusion of it. Even like them
returned
keeping...
my book. I don't even have this anymore.
Like them keeping him alive for long enough for them to figure out where her body is, which like I respect and I understand, but like I don't think it's done particularly well. And then they did like this whole epilogue chapter that I'm just like, okay.
Jesus, this hurts my eyeballs if I'm not.
It's so small.
Pretty little girl. I get it.
Oh, I hate that, by the way.
I hate that.
She uses the
On
phrase like maybe
the
3
nose.
times, and I'm like, I hate it.
I don't remember any of this.
It's nothing. Nothing is, like, it's... and, like, the fact that, like, she has the thing where she's like, oh, like, I would... Because, like, the cop who was looking for her is, like... Or who was looking for her sister was, like, in on it, which, dark. Mm-hmm. That was affecting. Except that then he just kind of dies of a heart attack off page. And you're like, okay.
Rip.
I'm
glad I read it, though.
I'm glad I read it so that I can, like...
At least say I read it. It's part of the whole part of the Backlist Book Club, I feel like. So now I finally have validation.
You know? I'm like, well, I have a very strong opinion about this book, but okay.
I would love to, because all the videos I've seen are people raving about it, and I'd love to watch a YouTube video kind of explaining someone else's hatred for it, so I don't feel as shitty, but also, like, maybe they could put it into words better than I can, because, again, I have a hard time explaining why something sucks. Yeah. Because to me it just sucked, and I just didn't like it.
Just didn't vibe. Sometimes you just don't vibe with something, and that's true of this, but also I have some intense issues with some of the ways the story was told.
Yeah.
The mechanics of the storytelling don't vibe.
We, like I was saying a couple times now, we didn't text about this, but I love when we were deciding our March pick, and you said, how about we pick something a little lighter?
A little lighter. It's still a little not light, but it's still lighter. All right, so for our March pick for Backlist Book Club, we're going to read Wilder Girls by Rory Power. This is a YA kind of dystopic story about a group of girls who are at like a school for girls on an island, and then this disease thing starts happening and the girls start getting mutations and they can't leave the island and they have to survive. A lot of people have referred to it as like a girl's Lord of the Flies, although I've seen a couple of people say that like that's not quite apt, but like close enough. And there's some queer stuff in this.
Oh!
Because Rory Power is a queer lady, writing about queer ladies.
Yeah, I got this at the library, which is why I have a bunch of annoying stickers on mine, but
I bought mine.
Looks nice.
I don't know where I bought mine. Somewhere.
Yeah,
somewhere.
I'm excited though.
Yeah, my best friend Megan read this right when I think she actually read an e-arc of it.
Oh.
And really loved it. I have an e-arc of Rory Power's second book, which I'm stoked about. So I'm excited to read this and then read that later.
This is exciting. I'm trying to get a little more into YA novels. So Books and Lala really love this. So I'm excited. Yeah. Can't wait.
YA can be very, very good.
I love the cover too.
I love this cover. I love, there's like a special edition, might be a Barnes & Noble edition, that is like hot pink.
Oh.
It's so cool looking.
I've literally bought books that I already own just because it's a different cover.
You know? So that's what we're reading in March. I think that we will like this one probably, my guess is we will probably like this one even more than Ninth House. That's my guess.
Okay.
I'm
Putting it out
predicting that this might be a 5-star read for me.
I'm very excited because I love dystopian novels too. Like I love that kind of thing. So I'm excited to get into this. Yay!